Let's jump right into this explainer on one of the most perilous, yet entirely invisible threats in global shipping. Today, we're unpacking the critical safety guidelines from the latest International Maritime Organization Safety Resolution, and it's a fascinating look into the hidden mechanics of the massive ships that keep our world running. When you picture danger at sea, what comes to mind? You probably think of 50-foot rogue waves, violent storms, or maybe a catastrophic engine failure in the middle of nowhere. But actually, the greatest danger out there lurks entirely unseen. It's hiding right in the belly of the ship itself, waiting in total silence. Just let that sink in for a second. One deep breath. This chilling reality from the IMO really sets the stakes for us. In these extreme industrial environments aboard cargo vessels, the margin for error is exactly zero. A single breath can literally be the difference between life and death. Which brings us to Section 1, the silent maritime killer. First, we need to understand what an enclosed space actually is. We're talking about cargo holds, ballast tanks, pump rooms, places structurally not built for humans to hang out in. They have restricted openings and terrible airflow. Because they aren't meant for us to live in, they become the absolute perfect, undisturbed breeding ground for toxic conditions. And here's the really tricky part: danger leaks. It's not just the main cargo hold that's the problem. A connected space is separated by just a manual door, meaning gas can easily drift right through. An adjacent space shares a solid wall, which is safe right up until the moment that barrier gets compromised. So even if you're just in a room next to a toxic area, you have to treat it as highly hazardous until it's officially tested. It's honestly terrifying when you realize that access trunks or those steep Australian ladders can trap hazardous gases like a ticking time bomb. You could have a situation where a dangerous cargo was unloaded days ago, the ship looks totally empty, but a lethal pocket of gas is just sitting there in a connected stairwell waiting for an unsuspecting crew member. Let's move to Section 2, cargo that breathes. We so often think of cargo as just dead weight, right? Just inert stuff sitting in the dark. But organic materials, things like wood chips, coal, agricultural seed cake, and even metals, are actively interacting with the air around them. They're undergoing chemical and biological changes every single second they're in transit. Take scrap metal as an example. If a hold is full of wet scrap steel, it is rapidly rusting. And that oxidation process literally sucks the ambient oxygen right out of the room. The cargo is breathing in the exact air a sailor needs to survive, and it depletes it incredibly fast, especially in warmer weather. Look at how fast the math turns deadly here. Normal breathable air sits at exactly 20.9% oxygen. If that drops just a tiny bit, down to 17%, human coordination goes completely out the window. Drop it slightly more, down to between 16 and 14%, you're looking at permanent brain damage, a coma, or immediate death. It takes just a tiny numerical shift to trigger total physiological failure. And here is the kicker. You absolutely cannot trust your own senses. A space completely filled with toxic, oxygen-depleted gas looks and smells perfectly normal. Carbon monoxide, for example, is entirely invisible and odorless, but it's immediately fatal at just 1,200 parts per million. That makes properly calibrated technological monitors your only real lifeline. This requires a huge mental shift. Organic cargoes like timber or seed cake don't just eat up oxygen. They actively exhale massive amounts of carbon dioxide. And they do it so rapidly that the toxic CO2 buildup will actually kill a person before the lack of oxygen even registers in their body.
So how is this managed? That brings us to Section 3, the safety checkpoints.
The IMO relies on an unbreakable trio of mitigation strategies: identification, verification, and execution. It's a rigid protocol, and if you skip even one of these steps, the entire safety net collapses. It all starts with the enclosed space register. Before anyone even touches a handle or a hatch, they have to check this ship-specific master blueprint. It tells the crew exactly what unseen enemies might be lurking, how the different spaces connect, and the precise safety steps required for that exact spot on the ship. I mentioned this number earlier, but the IMO guidelines treat it as absolute law. 20.9% is the magic number. It's the baseline percentage of oxygen by volume that has to be verified by a trained professional using calibrated gear before anyone even considers going inside. But oxygen is just the start. You have to check for everything. Carbon dioxide needs to be under 0.5%, flammable gases under 1% of the lower limit, and toxic vapors well below exposure limits. Plus, you have to test at different heights because gases stratify, some are heavy and sink, others are light and float. And crucially, you have to do this with the ventilation temporarily switched off so you can see what's actually pooling in the space. Once you're cleared to enter, time is simply not on your side. Entry permits are strictly capped at a maximum of 8 hours, and the ventilation has to run continuously the entire time someone is in there. If that ventilation fails for even a moment, or if the atmosphere changes at all, that permit is instantly voided and everyone evacuates immediately. No exceptions. Even with all this, things still go wrong. That brings us to Section 4, the rescue trap. If an accident happens and a crewmate goes down, the urge to rush in and save them is overwhelming. It's human nature to want to help your friends. But in an enclosed space, that emotional reaction is almost always a death sentence. The tragic reality is that many fatalities are well-intentioned rescuers who sprint into an unventilated space with no gear and instantly become casualties themselves. Rescue has to be a highly controlled mechanical operation. It requires a dedicated team and specialized equipment. We're talking self-contained breathing apparatuses, lifelines, rescue harnesses, and physical hoists, not just a reckless run into the dark. The IMO makes this an absolute non-negotiable rule. If someone goes down, you have to wait for help. You sound the alarm, follow the plan, get geared up, and never ever go in alone. Having the restraint to not run in is exactly what ultimately saves lives. This explainer really brings to light the incredible hidden challenges seafarers navigate every single day. So it leaves us with one vital question. As these massive ships transport the very materials that build our modern world, how do we ensure rigid protocols continue to protect the human lives, balancing right on the edge of these invisible toxic boundaries?